Hello again, people. Welcome once more. This time not to the cellar. This time to the desk. So, yeah, a little bit different today. I'm going to have a look at is setting up a control panel in JMRI. Something I've had a request or two to have a look at. So here we go. Firstly, we need a layout. This is what we're going to look at. This is a completely made up layout. It doesn't exist. I'm aware the track plan is terrible. This is about how to set this up. So, firstly, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go into Panels, New Panel, Layout Editor. That brings this up. I'm aware some bits of this might be a little bit awkward to see. I'm using a high resolution screen here and I'm trying to downscale things. However, this is about the only way I can do this and actually have it work. Oh, I bet the YouTube algorithm's going to love having that bit in the background. The first thing to do when you load this up is this is the screen you're presented with. The first thing is Options, Kill Edit Mode. And then adjust the size of the panel. And what you want to do here is make this the size you want it to be. Now, I'm going to use most of the screen here. In reality, you probably wouldn't. I'm doing this so I can show you what I'm doing. Because you're going to want this panel on screen at the same time you're doing other things, like you might have throttles and other bits and pieces on here. If you are just using this as a control panel, this is essentially you are just using this to control turnouts, maybe signals, maybe lights, maybe a few other bits and pieces, but you're not using this system to drive trains. You're using a handset or your phone or whatever. You can make this quite large. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to set this up on the assumption all you actually want to do is put some turnouts and such like in and control them. So the first thing we need to do is add the turnouts. Now we do this tables, turnouts. I need to see how many I need off here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is easy. So I'm going to add 6 turnouts. Now, as I say, this doesn't really connect to anything. So I'm going to go with add a sequential range. Start with 1. And I call it turnout 1. And I'm going to say I want 6 of them. Vroom. There you go. And we'll just put them in order. And they're not connected to anything. This I've assumed they're DCC ++. So this assumes you're controlling them over the DCC system. You can control them via MQTT. There's lots and lots of things you could do. Doesn't matter here. The point here is there are 6 turnouts we know about. And for what I'm doing, I don't really care which is which either. So we're now into this. We've got the panel set up roughly the size we want this. What we're going to do is stick it back into edit mode. And we're just very quickly going to add a point. And the way you do this, it comes up here, turnout. You come over this area and you hold down the shift key and a left click. And that appears. Now, I can see that. I know you're going to struggle to see that. So this is the first thing I'm going to do. This is just a little bit playing with some of the options. You can grab these little red boxes with the right mouse button and you can drag them and move them about. So that's made the point a little bit bigger, but you still can't see it. So what we're now going to do is go up to Options, Track Options, Set Track Drawing Options, and that brings up this little window here. And what we want is this one here, rail width. And you've got two options, mainline and sideline. And I'm going to turn the mainline to be 10 pixels wide and the sideline to be 6. Apply that, and now all of a sudden you can see the track, which is quite useful. You can change the colours as well. We'll come back to that in a minute. You can play around. Now, this here is just... you can go in and say, I want to... Yeah. Oh yeah, I've not got the gap set up properly. Yeah, you can get it to draw 2 rails and such like as well, but to be honest, I wouldn't bother. When you come down block width, what this does is this says if you've you connected this to some sort of block system, it will show the track differently. We're not doing that here, so we can forget about that. So now the rails are a bit bigger, but you can't do anything with that yet. So we're also going to come into this, and we're going to go turnout options. We are going to go set turnout circle size, and I'm going to turn that up to 8, which makes that dot a little bit bigger. You can go into, again, turnout options. Set turnout, fill turnout circles is a good one to do as well, makes them nice and easy. In here, turnout, set the turnout circle colour, so the default is black. And there is another one, which is turnout options, throne colour, which I believe the default is white, or it should be. There we are. And basically that's your two state colours. But that's a turnout. So what we're going to do is right click on it, edit. I'm going to say that is now turnout number 1. Done. And now when we click on it, it changes colour, and you can see it's saying white is we're going on the diverging route, black is we're going on the straight ahead route. Okay, what if you don't like those? So we can go into turnout, turnout circle colour. I'm going to set the straight ahead route to be white, and I'm going to set the diverging route to be black. This now matches what I've got downstairs in the cellar on Leopard Street. And that's relatively straightforward. We're also going to right click that and use size as default. So when we create some more, they will come up like this. You can, this is right clicking on the turnout button, and you can move it around. You need to be very, very careful with this. If you've got, I see, it changes the grid size as well for one thing as soon as you do it. Don't worry about that. You can literally just drag it back down here and it'll redraw the grid. You can use a zoom function, so you can zoom in to make editing certain bits accurately a bit more easily. We'll look at that in a minute. There is a huge problem. If you do that and you've got multiple items on the screen and you can rubber band them and then move them, now you see here, that's not following what my mouse is doing. Then drag it back down here. If you do that, if you've got multiple things created and you think, right, I'm going to just move all of this down here, I'm going to select it and move it, you'll find it all zooms up to the top corner and there's no undo feature, at which point you're hitting delete and starting again. So very, very careful how you do that. So if we just have a little look back at our little layout up here, so we have this crossover at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this crossover. Now I'm just going to go in and edit the size of this a little bit more. One of the things that is slightly annoying with a turnout is it will adjust both legs at the same time for you. So that's that. I'm now going to use that size as the default. I don't want to create another right-hand turnout. So again, I'm going to shift, click there. But it's pointing the wrong way. There's a couple of ways of dealing with this. You can right-click on it and you can rotate. And here you can type in the angle you want to go. So that rotates it. And again, I can move it around. Or you can just do that. Now this one doesn't have a turnout set to it, so if I set that to be turnout number 2, you notice turnout 1 has disappeared. We've already allocated that, so we can't allocate it again. But here I've got that. Now the only thing the difference in the left hand and the right hand makes, so bring this round here, you see it could quite easily be a left hand turnout, is you've got an entry track and 2 exit tracks. So if I do, if I just grab that and put it that way, that's sort of saying you're going to go up there or down here, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. So you just need to, it's just something to be aware of. And what we're then going to do is put this up here. Now there is apparently a way of making this track here join to that one. I don't, nah, it's just done something I didn't want it to, so I'm going to try to, right. This is something else you'll find. It draws things over the top of other things. And then what you find is they're quite hard to reselect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten that leg there. I'm going to shorten that leg there, and I'm going to put them so that they're lined up about like that. And what we now need to do is draw a bit of track between them. So we come up here, select track segment, and you put it over where you want it to start. You press shift, left click, and drag over to where you want it to go. And when one of the little circles goes green, you can let go. And look at that, we've got a bit of track between them now. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's mainline track. But we can click that, and away we go. Useful little trick, but this is a crossover. So we can go into here, we can go into edit, and you've also got in here, when we're going to do turnout 1, also throw turnout 2. So what that means is they should, I've set something up incorrectly there. Let's have a look. Edit, no. Okay. Oh, no, it is still working. I thought it had crashed. Right. Edit that. Turnout 1, also throw turnout 2. So, there you are. They're now working. It's just taking its sweet time to do anything. Okay. I suspect that's probably because I've got some feedback settings set up incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that feature off, so we can set these manually again without it locking up. But that's how we create turnouts, and it is literally that. If this was connected to an actual turnout, clicking that would throw it. And then you've obviously got JMRI. You can set up feedback, so you can go in and say there are sensors on the turnout. Maybe you've got a switch on the servo or on the point motor, and it'll run. You can connect these up in multiple ways. I mean, let's say I set this up just as a dummy using, assuming these are on an accessory decoder. This could be on MQTT. You could have multiple things, and when you set it up that way, if something else changes the point, like you've got a handset or a push button somewhere, this will change as well, which is quite useful. That is something I will be demonstrating in a later video, because I am planning on having a few push buttons on Leopard Street. Anyway, so let's get on. Let's put a bit more track in here. So what we want is anchor point. I want to put the end curves in. So I'm going to click left, shift there, and shift there, and over here, there, and there. Now that one's not quite where I want it, so I'm going to right click and put it there. And we're now going to do some track. So track segment, tick main line there, it makes life easier, and you can go like that, like that, like that, and like that. Now notice those tracks suddenly got a lot thicker. When you're putting points down, points aren't really mainline or not mainline. Points are just points. They adopt their track width, so I'm just adjusting these here to make them look a little bit nicer. The points just take their track width from the track adjacent to them. So if it's a main line, it'll go to main line. If it's not a main line, it'll go elsewhere. So this little, let's try and get that to look right. This little bit here in the middle, which I'm struggling to edit, basically because there's everything else there. If I say that's mainline, it'll go thicker again. Turn mainline off, it'll disappear. You can make them appear dashed. You can make them appear thinner. So you've got ways of indicating certain tracks. So here we've got two main lines, and this is like a little side route. So there we go. We've set that. We've cleared that. Just set that back a little onto the there. Now you can now also draw tracking curves. This is going to be interesting because I'm not very good at doing this. So what I'm going to do is another anchor point. Now the idea is an anchor. You see here, these have gone green. It can have two connections. It's got two connections. Yellow is it's got one. Red is it hasn't got any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another one down here. Now, as I say, there's two ways of doing this. You can either, I'm trying to remember how you draw curved track here. I think you do that, there, and there's an option somewhere. And I think you have to draw. Well, we'll see. I think you have to draw the track and then say it's going to be a curve. So we'll draw the track. I'm going to go into that. Change to, there we are. Circle does that. So there you go. That's a curved track. And what you can now do is you can drag these endpoints around, and you can drag this center point around. So I'm going to put the center point about there, make that effectively a 90-degree curve. And there we go. So let's do the next one. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to drop in another anchor point, which has got to go there. So again, shift left click, track segment, shift left click, draw to there, and then right click, change to circle, and there we go. Look at that. We've got a couple of circle bits of track. One thing I do, because it can be awkward trying to select things on here, it's worthwhile doing the outer tracks first, because if it's going to draw that line over the top of that line, you can get difficulty. So anchor point, and I'm just going to drop in 2 anchor points down here. They're not going to be in the right place because, again, the grid wasn't there. And then I'm just going to drag them to roughly where I want them to be, like so. And then track segment, do the outer track first. So again, shift, draw to there until the line goes green. Right click, change to circle. And it's drawn it the wrong way round, so how do I invert that? Flipped, there you are. So the flipped option is how you do that. So that to there, again change to circle, and then flipped, there we are. Circles. Don't worry about all these other bits in here. Now if we come up to here at the moment, if I say options turn off edit mode, this is what it now looks like. And the circles have disappeared, so we need to put those back in. So options, turnout options, show turnout circles. There we are. So you can see those. And the useful bit is that circle is the thing you're going to click on. So if we go into turnout options, set turnout circle sizes to 10, they're much bigger. So for example, if you had a touch screen, that's simple. If you're using a mouse, you've now got a bigger target. Obviously, you can have tracks drawn much more closely together, in which case you'd probably want them to be a bit smaller. It'll do. Anyway, back into edit mode. What we're going to do is I'm going to do the other curves, which are going to be, I don't know, there, 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 and there. So these now need moving, like so, like so. This is relatively straightforward. The thing you need to get used to is its shift basically allows you to add something. Just clicking on things tends to end up moving them. So change that to a circle. There we go. That one to there. And it's play with it a little bit. This software has some quirks to it. It has to be said. There's no way around that one. But this, I mean, this is the easy way. This is drawing up. I mean, this is obviously a fairly simple layout. Something that is worth noting: file, store all table and contents. So I'm going to go into that. I'm just going to call that test because I'm not using anything else for this one. And that'll save that. Do that quite often. It doesn't just save this panel. That's now saved the turnout definitions as well, which is quite useful. So let's go back to our little layout here. So we need another crossover down this end here, and this one here is a left hand, so I'm going to come into that and go shift click. That's giving me the left hand version of that up there, so that is going to get dragged a little bit down here. In fact, what I should probably do is delete that, and I can actually draw the track straight to that. I'm just going to leave a small gap at the moment, and I'll fill that bit in. I think there is a way to say I want these two to merge, but I don't know what that is. so I'm not doing it at the moment. So that's going to come down there. I'm then going to go Shift left click, which gives me another one. Come to this again, rotate 180. The angle rotation thing is useful for getting this sort of thing accurate if you really care about parallel lines and things like that, which, let's be honest, parallel lines are nice. So let's give these some values. So we're going to say that one is number 3. And again, all that really does is mean I can change the patterning on them. I'm going to make that one number 4. In practice, again, you would say I want these to be... well, you select one and it'll select the other, because up here, obviously, we've got a sort of weird condition at the minute. So I'm going to go in here, track, join that, join that, join that, and then join that, because we know that's roughly how that works. And as you can see, it's not lined up perfectly. So what we can do is just play around. You can grab these little dots and you can move them to look however you like. Right, let's put the other point in here, which is another right hand, which is that. And again, it needs to be rotated. So we'll do that, like so. We're going to have a look in a minute at some of the other things you can do with this this software as well. So you see, it'd be nice to be able to just put that straight there as the actual track is, but yeah, anyway. So track segment, and we'll do that and that. And then again, move that one to be where it needs to be. You can do these curves. You can also, you could just say, I want that to go along to here, 45-degree turn, and you get a more schematic look to it. It sort of comes down to what you actually want. Right, we don't want mainline anymore, because I want to put this point in for these two little sidings. Now, this is again another right hand. And here, we're going to do it a little bit differently. Because I need to drag this around, what I'm going to do is this method of doing it. So that's then going to come down here. I'm going to line that up about right. That is going to come like that. That'll do. And this is no longer main line. So we're now going to go track segment. I'm going to do that. And now we need a couple more anchor points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one there. Sorry, hold shift, one there. And then we're going to go end bumper. And I'm going to put one there and one there. The end bumpers are basically a track node that only expects to have a single piece of track connected to it. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. That piece should probably be a curve as well. So let's change that to... See, circle doesn't really work on it particularly, but I can go into that and go flipped. And they are. See, a little curved piece of track. Can drag that out there like so. And yes, all right, it doesn't look particularly like what we were doing. All right, let's just edit these. That one there becomes turnout 5. Do that. That one there becomes turnout 6. On here you've got block. There's all the block stuff on here I'm just completely ignoring, but it does exist. So that's that. And if we drop out of this, we can go File, Store That, which again says what do you want to call it as, and you'll get the warning you're overwriting. Drop out of edit mode, and that's your layout. Now what you can also do is say, oh, I'm going to make that a bit smaller, because it's not very big. I don't need it to be very big. There's a few other little things you can do with this though. So if we go back into edit mode, which of course drops it down there, so you end up messing around with the sizes a little bit. There's more things you can put on here. Where are we? You can stick sensors, you can stick signals on it. Crossovers, you can put these in. When we say crossover, let's just draw one over here. It does that. And that gives you the crossover in a single go. I don't like those. They work, but setting it up with the blocks is, I think, a bit of a problem, so I don't use those. I do these separately. So delete that. Do you want to delete that? Yes. And you notice that all these bits of track, now these here have been drawn just because of where I want the shapes to be. You can go in and say, yeah, again, if you're using blocks, you can put, like, you could have an end point there maybe, or an end point here, link them together. You can have a physical block on the track and say, actually, all of these bits here are part of it. Job done. But that's a control. Now that's the Panel Pro panel. So say, take that down there. You can give it a name. I'm just trying to think how you. Yeah, you can give turnouts names and stuff. I'm just trying to where is the options tools? There is somewhere. There is an option to give this thing a name. Edit title. There we are. So I'm going to go on that. My layout is going to be test layout. Changes its title up at the top, so if you start bringing up window panels, I'll come down here. I can see I've got Panel Pro and I've got Test Layout. So I'll click that and we'll come back. That works. Now you can stick in sensors. So let's just have a look, because you can use the sensors to do things with. So if we just go into here, and what I'm going to do is Tools, Tables, Sensors, and this has created sort of internal sensors for all of the points. And there's another bit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one, call it My Sensor. Let me do it. It will. IS1, My Sensor. So we come back onto here. And what I'm going to do is sensor icon. I'm going to click My Sensor, and I'm going to put it there. And what I need to do now is look at how we did it. I think we have to do these individually. My Sensor, set level, percentage, properties. So you can set that. Border, size and position, that's what I'm wanting. See whether these work. They're going to do anything. So we can move it a little bit. Border, border color, border size. Aha! Contents, text value to display. My Sensor. See if that works. See what that does. Let's just put that lines around it. Okay, drop out of that. There's that there. What I need, there are ways of doing this. I'm just trying to think how we do it. Background color, edit sensor icon. So here you have the different ones you can get. So unknown, change icon. Let's have a little look. And you can go into here, icons. Ooh, British Rail signaling. Let's have a little look. Large icons. Junction. I have no idea what these things do. Oh, I see. Yes, you've got backgrounds there. Aspects. Different things that are going to do things. So, yeah, there's... what have we got? Semaphores. There's all these other bits and pieces here. MISC. What have we got under MISC? I don't know what any of these do. So yeah. Ooh, I like those. Dink. I don't know quite. That's that one, and that's that one. There we go. Drop out of that, and we should, with a bit of luck. Yeah. Anyway. So anyway, that didn't work, but there we go. The key bit here is that when you click on it, it does something. I'm just trying to work out. There is a way of making that a lot larger. Change to text. That might work. Well, that. Options, edit. I'm just trying to. trying to remember how to do this. Properties. Is that the one? Contents. active. My sensor active. My sensor inactive. There we go. And it's deciding there, change to icon. Okay, change to text. Margin size, fixed size, all that, state colors. Yeah. Anyway, set level. I have no idea what level does. Anyway, right. What I'm going to do is delete that because that doesn't look very good. But that is how to set up if you want just a basic panel. You can drive it in this mode as well, actually. But if we drop out of that, there you go. You're in there, and that'll show where your points are set. Literally, that's all that's going to do. It's not going to do anything else. So if we then go into so what else can we do on this? Well, as we've seen, we can change the colours. So maybe you want this inner track to look a bit different. I don't think you can change it by block. I think that's the. Yeah, I think you are a bit limited on that one there. Track options. Yes, you got the default and the track drawing options on here. So, yeah. Ooh. There are various presets that you can play around with. Which, yeah, I'm not going to play with because I don't want to break anything. But that's that. Now, I hope that's been useful. I mean, for example, this bit here in the middle. Let's get this looking slightly more like the actual layout. So let's drag that down there. And we can move that to make that look a bit straighter. That can go that way. That can come down here. That one can come to about there. And that's like that. But it's a schematic layout. That's how you want that to work. So we'll store that. And there's more you can do with this. So we're going to go into this. We're going to go panels. I'm going to create a new panel. And this one is switchboard. So you can come into this here. We'll move this one out over the way. And this has got all of our turnouts on here. So you can play with that. Yeah. Not one I've used before, but there we go. Yeah, fills automatically, sets turnouts, grayed out buttons not connected to the layout. So these here are other turnout things that don't exist because it's been told to do it that way. So what we're going to do is say just have 6. There you go. And the key bit here is these will, you can change the labels on these, and you change that in, where are we? Turnouts. So I'm going to say turnout 5. Username, rename. So we're going to change that one to siding entry. So that's now called siding entry. So we get rid of that, and on here, this should, if I get rid of that because we don't want it. Now, note, this is something else on panels. Those panels exist no matter what you want to do with them. You have to delete it. So I'm going to delete the switchboard editor. We're going to recreate that. And it's now picked it up with the new name, siding entry. Naming things when you create them is useful. Not everything will sort itself out. But that's a switchboard panel. They're very useful, very simple. Show panel you've got on here. Panel editor is a little bit, if I remember rightly, this one is a little bit more awkward. Yeah, so this, yeah, that's not the one I wanted. Don't want that one. Panels, control panel editor. This is the one I wanted. So you can come on here, add items. What are we going to do here? I'm trying to remember how I did this. There is a way to come in and say, I'm going to create one that adds items palette. What have we got? Yeah, this is a more select a row in the table to provide a device for this icon. Okay, there we go, like that. And if I go into that and remove that, this here is a slightly more schematic version of the same thing. So if I do that there, rotate that 180, and it's the wrong icon because it's the wrong way round, but you can come up with a more yeah, if you want it to look like it's like a modern signalling centre sort of diagram. I don't like these types of things, to be honest with you, so I'm going to go into that just to remove that. Remove. So what we're going to do is say we'll have that. We'll rotate that. 180. That. What do you do it as a... Yeah, here, remove and drag that over here. Now at the moment that's only changing one because it only knows about one, but if that was set up to change the other as well, you can see you've got this sort of little track icon. So you can draw shapes, draw a rounded rectangle. Here we go. Here we are, line thickness, so that's just a shape. And that will pick up a sensor. There we are. That's how we do that. So if I now go into here, tables, sensors. So if I set my sensor here, active, inactive. Yeah, right. There's a way of making this change its position as you're doing things. Yeah, I'm getting a bit lost in this because it's been a while since I've used it, so I'm going to get rid of those. And we're going to close this down and we're going to pretend I never looked in that area. But there's ways if you've got lights, for example. So if we go into here, tables, lights. I'm going to create one. I'm going to call it light 1. I'm going to say it's my light. On here. Create that. No, I'm going to call that L1, which it won't let me do. 101. There we are. Create. Use it with this name already exists. There we go. Create. Deal. Alright, it's because it's already created the thing. So on. Just make sure that's not changing turnouts as I'm doing it. Yeah, and you can have light controllers and other bits and pieces that come onto here that do different things. So you can say, I want this light to change value when a sensor comes in, multiple sensors, or in this case none, because what we actually want to do is turn it on and off manually by clicking that. And we should, I'm trying to remember how to do this, there is a way of adding a thing which you can click on to control it. I think it is in one of those other panels. I think it is this one. Add items, item palette. So I don't want that. Sensor, don't want sensors, light. There we are. That's it. So what I'm going to do is drag that over there. And if I come on here, look at that. That now lights up. So, but you can do it the same on here. You can click on this and you can turn lights on and off. So that goes over there. What we're then going to do is text. I'll bring that up there like that. There should be a way of editing that. There may not be. You might have to do it on here. My light. That's on there like so. Font size, I'm going to make that a bit bigger. Yeah, 24. I like 24. There you go. that's there. It's not connected, but you click on that, and you can have lights coming on and off. So you could, for example, say for example, Leopard Street with its signal box that's got 3 lights. I could create a little panel like this that just turns lights on and off. And depending on how you set your system up, all this is doing is changing a JMRI value. Now, if you're putting that out over, say, MQTT, you could say, I've got 2 values for this. That is daylight, that is night, and that could turn a whole load of lights on and off, however you wanted to do it. Yeah, I'm just going to close those. I'm going to delete various panels. So I'll leave the layout editor one, the test layout, because I want that. Because we may come back to this in future. Delete this, delete this, delete this. Don't want that. Panels again, delete panel. It's, like I say, it's a tad cumbersome, using this thing. Panel editor, get rid of that. Let's delete panel. Untitled control panel editor, right. Close that. Panels, delete, delete. And as we see, it's not deleting that one for whatever reason. Don't really care. So come over here, store that, overwrite, put that into operating mode again. And again, you can sort of play around with this quite nicely. Yeah, and if all you want to do is control points, as I say, you've got some sort of external system. I gather the MegaPoints controller thing is going to have JMRI integration or via MQTT integration at some point, in which case if you set these up as MQTT points, it should probably respond to them. It's not a system I use, so I can't comment, but I gather that's what's happening. There you go. Anyway, so that is that. Hopefully that's brought a little bit of clarity to some of this and some of the options. Play around with it. The hardest bits to work out how to do are, how on earth do I draw a piece of track? And the answer to that is you drop these anchors, which is going to be the endpoints. You can't just draw a line and have it as track. You have to put the endpoints in first. How do I make it as a curve? And that is right-clicking on it and going change to. Bezier and ellipse, you can do other bits and pieces with them. Hide construction line gets rid of the construction line on there. That only appears in the edit mode anyway. And that's about it. If I figure out how to join like 2 turnouts like that together directly, I will say something. At the moment, I don't know how to do that. So, yes. But anyway, otherwise, many thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope this has been of at least some use. Thank you very much, and goodbye.